I'm Wendy Yi, and welcome to the Dice Tower. This is another top 100 for me. This is numbers 40 through 31. We're getting into just some of the sweetest and best games that have ever existed in all time. So let's go ahead and get started. Starting off with number 40, this is Dominion. Now, Dominion used to be my number one game of all time. This got me into the hobby. I just love Dominion. It moved down to 8 last year, and then it's moved down to 40. And I think this is why. So I had a lot of sentimentality behind it. Like I said, it got me into the hobby, and it got my family through kind of a difficult time. We played a lot of Dominion while we were at a hospital, in and out of the ICU kind of thing, and we just needed something to do as a family. And so this has a lot of emotional kind of sentimentality behind it that's carried me through many years of making it, one of my top absolute favorite games. And I find that I just don't pull it out, and I just don't ever take it off that shelf and pull it out again. And it's tough because I do really enjoy it. I love the setup. I love being able to look at those 10 cards that come out and think like, ooh, what strategy? How am I going to build my deck to make this the best out of whatever the lineup is? Like, I really enjoy that about Dominion. But once again, I'm not pulling it down. I'm not taking it out the way that I used to. And so it's moved down, but it is still absolutely a fabulous game. So that's my number 40, Dominion. Number 39 is Aquatica. Now, this is a game that I hadn't played until coming to the Dice Tower. It's one of our essential games. And it's one of those that I missed somehow, and I was really glad that I was kind of forced to play it. I wasn't forced to play it, okay? I really wanted to. But I just remember, I think that we'd been around just for a few weeks. It was a game day, and we played Aquatica, and it was kind of this whirlwind of, oh, I like this. I like this. There's so much engine building. You're setting up, you're building these cards in front of you, but you have to be able to use them. And so you're making that choice of, do I want to just bypass a lot of the abilities to get them done so I can score them? Or do I want to save them because that's part of my engine building, is being able to move them up and use all the special abilities and see how I can combo-tastic stuff. So Aquatica is just a really cool game. I definitely would always play it with the expansion, because I feel like most of the base game setups are too short for me. I want more. I want to be able to build that deck of cards, that hand of cards. I want to be able to score a lot of cards. And so just immediately adding in that expansion for me is like base level what it should be. But I just really, really enjoy it. So that's my number 39. What did I say? Aquatica! Number 38 is Woodcraft for me. Now, this is new as of last year, and I think that it's pretty telling that it's this high up on my list. It's one of those that I just really enjoyed, and I didn't get to play as much as I wanted to. And I think that that's why it's where it's at, because when I was going into this top 100, I was like, what do I feel like I really want to play right now? Games that when I think about them, there's so many games that I can pick from. What's going to be on that list of games I want to pull off the shelf and actively play? And Woodcraft is one of those. I really enjoyed the theme of building these little plants so that you can get wood, and then changing them and molding them into things so you can complete contracts. I really enjoyed that, and I especially enjoyed just that level of heaviness of the mechanics of really trying to time out stuff, because your contracts are getting farther and farther down, which means you're earning less for them and maybe even negative for them if they stay out. But you're also trying to build your engine and build your kind of woodcrafting shop in front of you. And so there's just those mechanisms that just work together really well. And it's one of those puzzles that I have not yet solved. Not that I solve games, because I'm not that smart. But it's one of those that I haven't explored all that there is to explore, and so I'm really excited to explore more. And so I think that's why this is where it's at, is because I want to pull this out more. I want to play it more. I want to experience what it has to experience, because there's just so much more to do. There's so much more to get from it. So that's my number 38 is Woodcraft. Next up for 37 is a game that has a lot of different editions, and it's hard to point and decide on which edition I want to play next. But the game is Viticulture. So in Viticulture, you have the Essential Edition, which I played for years and years and years. And then we got the Tuscany, which was really cool because instead of just having summer and winter, or spring and fall or whatever it is. But anyways, instead of having 2 seasons, you have 4 seasons that you're playing your workers on. And then we got Viticulture World, which is the cooperative version where you also still have the 4 seasons, but then you have some sort of objective and you're working together to get it. And I just think like, I want them all. I want to play them all. I love all versions of Viticulture. I'm not so sure about the cheese expansion. But other than that, I love all forms of viticulture. This was 15 on my list many years ago. Then it went down to 26. So it has been around a while. It's been loved for a while. And in fact, this is one that had to grow on me. So initially, I absolutely hated the cards that you would gain. So you gain cards to get special abilities. You gain your like one-time abilities. You gain cards to build your vineyard. You gain cards to create contracts so that you can trade those in. And I just remember feeling like, oh, the cards are just so random. Like, obviously, Chris gets better cards than me, then he's going to win. But I think as I've learned the game more and as I've figured it out more, I've come to realize that there's ways to get through those decks of cards. There's ways to find the contracts that you need and find things that'll work for you. And so Viticulture has really bumped up over the years on my list. And it's moved down a little bit just because I've played so much. But really, there's just so many versions and it's so good that it's like, what do you decide? What do you choose? What would you choose? Viticulture World, Tuscany, or Essential Edition? I just really want to know because they're all good. I think Essential Edition is done for me. I think I'm just done with that. But yeah, love Viticulture. I love the little glass beads that you put out and they look like little drops. Oh, I love it all. So much fun. That is my number 37, Viticulture. Number 36 is Clans of Caledonia. Oh, this is such a good one. This is a mix of economics and engine building that just jive together so beautifully. So much fun. So in Clans of Caledonia, you've got this really cool market that adjusts as people sell and buy goods. So as I sell yarn, the price of it goes up. But as I buy yarn, the price of it goes down. And so it's a very interactive market, which I really enjoy. But also it's hard for people to just like tank it. And so there's just that give and take and that movement that I really, really enjoy. Plus the engine building. This is one of those games where as you take pieces off of your player board, very Boon Lake and Terra Nova, there we go. As you take stuff off of your board, it uncovers engine building stuff. So it uncovers some sort of income for each round, abilities to trade in goods for other goods so you can make your milk into cheese and that kind of stuff. And I think it's so much fun to be able to do all of those things. So there's just a lot about Clans of Caledonia that is so much fun. Really enjoy it. It's a game I haven't gotten to the table in a long time. I really wish I would. It was 45 last year, so it's moved up a little bit in my eyes because it's so good. I just want to play it again. I want to play Clans of Caledonia again. This is what this top 100 is doing to me. It is making me want to play all these games again, and I just don't have time. But great stuff. So Clans of Caledonia, that is number 36. Number 35 is New York 1901. This is another one that has some sentimentality for it behind me, less emotional, but more just Chris's stepdad grew up in New York in the 70s, and so this is a game that we pull out with him. This is a game that we played a lot on our own and absolutely loved and enjoyed it because it was an early polyomino kind of area majority kind of game that we played. And then once we had kind of experienced all there was to experience, then we introduced it to family and it's kind of grown from there. So really enjoy this one. It was 9 on my list many years ago and then it was 72 and now it's hopped back up to 35. So pretty good there. I do just really enjoy polyominoes. I enjoy being able to look at something, very like square spaces on a board and think, how am I going to fit these odd shaped pieces? How am I going to fit an L next to, whatever the 3 down on the bottom, the 1 on the top polyomino? How am I going to get those to fit together so that I can build what I want to build? And what I especially enjoy about New York 1901 is this idea of buildings have different levels and different phases. So you start with your bronze buildings and you can choose to keep those or you can demolish them and move them up to silver or gold. And so you can only progress to bigger, better buildings, but you can keep the old stuff too. And the way that it works is that there are certain streets that you're trying to get majorities on. And so as you are building up those majorities on those streets, you are also demolishing buildings and building bigger ones. You're like, oh, I'm giving up 2 buildings on this street, but I'm going to get 10 points. Is it worth it? It might be worth it. It might not be worth it. So you have to make those choices and those decisions. And I just think they're really good decisions as you are getting in each other's way, collecting and buying up land plots that, prevent someone from getting these giant, huge buildings that are worth a ton of points. So really enjoy New York 1901. It's cool that it's moved up a little bit. So that's my number 35. My number 34 is Zulkin, the Mayan calendar. This one was 7 many years ago and then 13. So it's dropped a bit, as have many things. But Zulkin is, when I think of tea games, I think of Zulkin, even though there's a debate whether or not it's an official tea game because it's not board and dice and blah, 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 blah. But this one I love. I love this idea of your workers in a worker placement game move on gears. And so as you are waiting, this game is all about that timing. You can either place workers or take workers. And so that timing of, I want this worker to be on this spot when I take it, when I remove it, so I can get that action. But then I have other workers sitting out. And so I need to be okay taking those ones as well when I take this action, because if I'm trying to place stuff when I want to take stuff, I'm going to lose the actions that I want. And so I really love the idea of timing. I love getting in each other's way a little bit. And just, everybody wants to get corn. So everyone wants to be on the corn track, and getting in each other's way is good in some ways because you can get higher on those tracks a little bit quicker, but it's more expensive. And so, there's just so many good decisions. You can't do everything. You want to build up your engine a little bit. You want to get buildings in front of you. You want to move up on the scoring tracks. There's just so much going on. I love it. But I just really enjoy that idea of working with the gears and working with time. So that is my number 34, Zulkin, the Mayan calendar. Number 33 is next up, and this is Pret-a-Porter. Pret-a-Porter is a fashion design game where you are collecting all these threads and you're building up your business a little bit so you can eventually put on fashion shows, and that's where the big bulk of the points come from, and you have a few of those in the game. I really enjoy this so much, I think because it's thematically different, it's thematically unique, but it's still a solid game. You've got these economic elements of building your business and having to play your workers and wanting to make that bigger but not too big so that you can't afford things. But at the end of the day, you're also just trying to get specific majorities based on the fashion show stuff. And so you're collecting these outfits, you're trying to put them together in sets so that you can show those sets, and you want to score based on whatever the fashion show's scoring is. So, one time having a lot of sportswear might be cool. Having a lot of PR might be cool. So there's just different things that rate. And so you're trying to go with the trends. You're trying to follow the trendiness, but also get points other ways. And so I just really enjoy just the economic elements mixed with this fun fashion design idea, because they just meld really well together, because obviously fashion is a business. And so I think it's fun. It's a very unique take. And so I appreciate that. So Pret-a-Porter is my number 33. Moving on with another mid to heavy Euro game is Golem. This is my number 32. Golem was 85. It's moved up because I think I hear Chris talk about it so much. No, this is one that I really enjoy. I love this idea of you've got this marble track. You're putting marbles down, and then you're collecting your actions, or I guess you're choosing your actions based on these marbles. But then you're doing just a lot of stuff. And so I really enjoy games where you have a lot of things that you can lean into, a lot of things you can do, and you can't do everything. And so, this one, you're like, ooh, I want to move up my book track, or I want to play cards in front of me and kind of build that engine. Or I want to flip over tiles on my golem so I can get more. Or I want to do whatever the yellow track is, where you've got that stuff. There's so many different things you can move in on, but then thematically, you also want to move your golems across, and you want to not get them too far away from you, because then they get out of control. So it's interesting because it's very thematic, but at the same time, I look at it and I just think oh yeah, this is a Euro game where I get to move up on tracks and I get to flip stuff over and I get to build an engine. And so that's why I enjoy it. I enjoy it because of the mechanics and just the heaviness of it. And there's a lot to do and a lot to try. And I still have a lot more to do and try in it. So that's why I really enjoy it. But I think thematically, it's cool that it's unique. And I appreciate that the way that you do the action selection is also unique. So I think it sets itself apart from a lot of other Euro games because of that, at least in my book. And it really does help that Chris loves this so much because it grows on me. Like the more that I play a game, the more, especially these heavier ones, the more they grow on me and the more I get to explore them and enjoy them. And so because this one's more likely to hit the table, it actually is higher. Whereas I know a lot of the other ones that I've mentioned are higher up because they haven't hit the table and I really want them to. So it's such an interesting give and take. But yeah, so this one for me is number 32, Golem. Last up on my list today, number 31, is Ground Floor. Ground Floor, ooh, we've talked about a couple economic-y games here. I really enjoy Ground Floor. So in Ground Floor, you're building a business, and you're literally building it from the ground floor up. So you've got this little tableau in front of you, and there's some actions that just you can take, but then there's also a main board where there's lots of actions going on as well. And you are trying to build levels to your floor, so you actually add like to your skyscraper. And they have different scoring conditions, or they might be a new action space or something. But it's one of those economic worker placement games where there's a good amount of interaction. So you're trying to make your particular company stand out more. So you want to have more of that kind of PR stuff so you can make better choices, you go first, those kind of things. But then you're also making goods and you're trying to sell goods. And so you're trying to price those goods correctly. And so there's a lot of interesting stuff going on with that, while at the same time, you've got other businessy things you have to do. And so it's one of those things that you look at this big board and you think, oh, that's a lot. But then you realize that there's only like a handful of spaces. And as you're working on those spaces, they lead to other, being able to work on other spaces later. So you're like making spots to build your goods so that you can put your goods out so that you can price them correctly at the right time. And you want enough PR so that people like your goods. And so it's just a really cool interaction. Really enjoy Ground Floor. It's one that was introduced to me a handful of years ago. And Chris had already played it. He had already loved it. And so I went into it being very bad at it compared to him. But we've definitely evened out the more we played, and I just really enjoy this one. So that is my number 31, Ground Floor. Well, thanks so much for joining me today. What a good top 100 list. I can't believe we're already down to the 30s next. I hope you guys stay tuned. I hope you're enjoying this, and I hope you have a fabulous day. I'm Wendy Yi, and this is the Dice Tower.